Sometimes in here, I like to say I'm a company man, that I'm protecting the logo all the time, that I'm not going to tell you guys the truth about the Clippers. Well, once again, I'm looking forward to dispelling that myth today. Welcome into Clippers Talk.
Here we go, Clips fans.
Clippers talk with Adam Osland. After every game, download every pod. Clippers talks the name. He's a basketball talking golden god.
New episodes after every game on demand.
Follow Clippers Talk wherever you get your podcasts. Clippers.
Appreciate you guys for joining me. Before we get to the Luka Doncic news, I do want to follow up on our last show regarding LeBron James and if he was angling to be moved to the Clippers because of his cryptic tweets and being at the old training facility in Playa Vista. As people are starting to jump in, Alex Webb is here. Let's see who else shows up. As people are asking, how does this affect AI Adam here? I need to bring my soundboard with me when I'm doing shows from home. Somebody said Giannis is more realistic now. Yannick is definitely realistic. Giannis, I'll tell you about that in a little bit here. J-Dog's here. Appreciate some of the regulars. If you guys haven't noticed, new logos and a 4K camera that I think still only streams in 1080p because 1080p is as far as Restream will let me stream something. But once they upgrade their servers or add bandwidth or however that works, then we'll be in 4K because the camera that I got is capable of that. So first of all, let's get into it. Last time out, last show here, we focused on LeBron James and that tweet that I just mentioned. And if he was looking to be a Clipper, if he's looking to go anywhere, then remain a Laker at this point, which could be the case, but he still has that no trade clause. We unpacked it for about 45 minutes. There was something I forgot about, though, and I wanted to give an update to this story. Aside from the fact that Clutch now owns that old Clippers training facility, and they have been using it, even though it still seemed like he was going out of his way to take pictures in front of the logo and post them for everyone to see, which led to all this rampant speculation. Aside from that it does make sense that he'd be training at a place that Clutch Sports owns, and that kind of undercuts the rumor that he wants to come to the Lakers, to the Clippers and leave the Lakers. There was something else I forgot about. And this came out early in July as there were trade rumors and there were 4 different teams that were interested and checked in about LeBron after he opted in, but then Clutch Sports was talking about how, obviously the Lakers and him could be on 2 different timelines at this point. He wants to make sure that they're ready to win a championship now. Dave McMenamin reported this, and it completely slipped my mind, but I shouldn't have. Somebody else brought it up. Nobody, while I was doing that show, brought it up, though. I was asking you guys, could you find any examples of LeBron taking shots at the Clippers in the past that would take away from any opportunity of him joining the team, even though that stuff you can reconcile, you can figure it out. Dave McMenamin reported that despite liking his living situation in Los Angeles, James told those close to him that he would never play for the Clippers. Although it is unclear why the Lakers' crosstown rival appear to be the team James would least welcome a trade to in the 2025 offseason. Dave McMenamin said, quote, "I've reported in the past, a source close to LeBron James said, LeBron James will never wear a Clippers uniform," McMenamin said. "So if that remains the case, you can remove that one." Okay. I guess that bridge is burned. Quote, "would never play for the Clippers, would never wear a Clippers uniform." we can put that to rest. Also, if you were interested in an update on that based upon the pressure that was had today with Rob Pelinka next to Luka Doncic, as he signed the deal that I said he was going to sign yesterday on Rogan and Rodney. If y'all doubt me, not that I had any sources on this, but it just made sense. And I've been saying it for a while. But this was my prediction on the contract he was going to take yesterday on Rogan and Rodney on AM 570 LA Sports.
What do you think the best deal for him to do?
If I'm Luka, I go 3 years, 165. So then I can get out of the contract and sign back up and take up 35% of the cap, which is that supermax. Now, for more security reasons, and he's had some injury concerns this past year especially, he could just take 4 years guaranteed 229. But for him to make the most, there's got to be a little bit of risk on. And considering by the end of the 3 years, he'll still be 29, 30, like he is in a great spot where he could still go for the money and just be a little bit risky with it.
Yeah.
So he took exactly that deal. 3 years, 165, not the 4 years, 229, because the deal is by the summer of 2028, he can opt out and he will have 10 years of service in the NBA, and therefore Luka Doncic can take up 35% of the cap. So it behooves him to take the deal that he did to make the most money possible. There's a little bit of risk, though. If he had a catastrophic injury or something like that, then maybe he never gets that supermax later on, and therefore he could have had 229 guaranteed, but he went 3 years, 165. But I mentioned the press conference with Rob Pelinka. That just happened a few hours ago. Well, Dave McMenamin wanted to ask a non-Luka related question. I will play that for you guys here. It is LeBron James related, a question that was directed at Rob Pelinka.
Championship roster before, and just how difficult that is. And I just wonder, can you speak to getting Luka locked in here and what that does for you and what that does for the Lakers as you try to get to that next step?
Wait a second.
Is really important.
Hold on. It's coming.
We're on significant contract stipulation. I don't know, news of the offseason was him opting
Infinite
Here it is. Here's the question about LeBron James. My bad.
cycle to try to improve this team and win championships, and we'll stay committed to that work.
Rob, you mentioned LeBron in your last answer. Obviously, another significant contract stipulation. I don't know, news of the offseason was him opting into year 23. Rich Paul put out a statement to ESPN. I reported that he also told you about that statement before he put out that LeBron and his camp will be monitoring the moves. Do you have any sense of how they feel about how the teams come together thus far since that statement was made in late June? And do you anticipate LeBron finishing his career with the Lakers?
Yeah, so all the interactions we've had with LeBron and his camp, Rich in particular, have been positive and supportive. So very professional, and Rich has been great. The dialogue with him has been open and constant. So that to answer that question. And then in terms of LeBron's career, I think the number one thing we have to do there is respect he and his family's decision in terms of how long he's going to play. I think that's first and foremost. And we want to respect his ability to come up with his timetable on that. I think that's really important. But if he had a chance to retire a Laker, that would be great.
Kind of interesting the way he worded that. If he had a chance to retire a Laker, that would be great.
That's really important. But if he had a chance to retire a Laker, that would be great.
So that's just to tie up the story that we did on our last show on Thursday in the live section about LeBron James, and if he was trying to either take a shot at the Lakers or make it known that he wants to be a Clipper. Well, I wanted to follow up on that story and just keep you abreast of the situation. That was earlier today, Rob Pelinka at Luka Doncic's press conference. So, how does Luka Doncic signing the extension for 3 years, 165, meaning if he did opt in and played out the entire extension, he would be with the Lakers till summer of 2029. Because it's an extension, he already had a year for this season, 25-26. That means it's really 4 years. But that last year is a player option. You would expect him in the summer of 2028 to opt out and become a free agent again. So therefore, he can take up 35% of the salary cap and make, I think it's 417 million is the supermax or projected supermax at that time, where he's making over 80 million annually per year. Should everything go right, should Luka Doncic stay healthy and still be a top 5 player in the league, you would expect him to be. He's 26. He'll turn 27 in February. My point has been, I've been very transparent with you guys for some time here, going back months on Clippers Talk. I try to tell you the truth and give you the truth and be a realist and be realistic on this show and not sell you a pipe dream or blow smoke or give you false hope. Because Clipper Nation has been through enough. I never want to do that. I want to give you honesty. And so this offseason, one of the main themes that I've been talking about is how the Clippers may have to take a chance on a young guy with flaws, because the superstars that are in their prime or entering their prime often don't become available, and I think have less of a chance of becoming available anymore. Luka Doncic is now cemented as a Laker. He's not going anywhere for at least the next 3 seasons. And even if something went horribly wrong and he wanted to be traded, I think the last team they would trade him to would be the Clippers. We have to face that reality now. Luka Doncic is a Laker. There was somebody earlier that came to me, and I give him props here because not many people admit when they're wrong. He's a listener to Clippers Talk. You may find him in here. Kevin Richards. I'd been telling everyone he is signing the extension with the Lakers. Do not buy into the murmurs that, oh, teams are monitoring the situation. They don't know. If Luka actually wanted to be a Laker, he got traded there. He didn't ask to go there. Maybe he's not happy being a Laker. Maybe he doesn't want to be there. And maybe he won't take that extension to be a free agent in 2026. I said BS. I don't buy into any of that. And one of the guys that said he would leave was Kevin Richards, said he wouldn't sign the extension. Props to him, respect. He said, I was wrong on this one, Adam. What have I been telling you all off season long? Well, here's proof of that theme that I've been running with that is kind of a sobering reality. It's not just about Luka. It's about guys like this in general, who everybody wants to get, but the possibility of them becoming free agents, truly unrestricted free agents anymore, I think is very slim in today's CBA. So let's go back 2 months. Here's a show I did on that. Here's what I said. Would it be in the best interest to keep hope alive of getting someone like SGA back or bringing in Luka Doncic? Maybe I could have done that and told you guys, something I didn't believe for the sake of wishful thinking. But no, I'm going to tell you what I think the truth is and be honest here. Here's what I said 2 months ago. Summer 2027. Paul George is a player option. I wonder if he'll take it. Kawhi will be a free agent. Summer 2027. Zach LaVine. Luka Doncic for now. Trae Young for now. None of these teams with these assets, with these great players, are going to let them get to free agency. They're going to trade them beforehand. They're not going to lose them for nothing. The only time you do that is with Paul George because he's 34 and you don't want to give him $200 million and you'd rather just have the flexibility of being under the first apron, the luxury tax. So you have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is technically a free agent in 2027. Will he get an extension before then? Yes. They're not just going to lose him for nothing. Jordan Poole, he'll be almost 28 then in 2027. Tyler Hero, he'll be 27. Isaiah Hartenstein, he'll be 29. So I was running down the list of guys that technically were going to be free agents in 2027 that people were licking their chops about because they know the Clippers could have $120 million to spend. Hell, they're going to have a max slot open in 2026 now with the great work the front office has done this summer. But I have been very honest with you that you can hope and dream for these guys to be unrestricted free agents. But the truth is, I don't think these top tier guys, the elite of the elite, top 5, top 10 players, are going to be available like that anymore. And I've been telling you that consistently all summer long. Here was another time I said it. 2 months ago, on with Lucas Hahn. Make it Han, don't call him Han, Adam.
This is a summer where if you want to get a big fish, it's going to have to be via trade. But
you think those guys, like you look down the line, oh, Shai's going to be a free agent in 2027. It's like, no, he's not. He's not going to get to that point. They're going to have an extension with him before that. These are just sign one. The things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I mean,
Luka's not going to be a free agent then. He's going to get the extension.
For some of
Are you listening? To be a free agent in 2027. It's like, no, he's not. He's not going to get to that point. They're going to have an extension with him before that. These are the things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I mean,
Luka's not going to be a free agent then. He's going to get the extension.
For some of those players, that is true.
For the real top level players, the best guys that are no brainers to get.
But why?
But that's the point.
Why would that not have been the case for? I mean, like the way that veteran extensions work hasn't changed. So that wasn't the case 5 years ago. Like I think it's possible, but I also think it's possible that like look at how things are going for Jokic in Denver. Look at how things are going for Giannis in Milwaukee. You think how happy is Anthony Davis going to be in Dallas 2 years from now, right? How happy, where do the Knicks end up with their money and Karl Anthony Towns being a free agent 2 years from now? I mean, everything's great. It's great to be a Knick right now, right? But 2 years is a long time, and a lot of things happen. And $60 million is a lot of Karl Anthony Towns, as great as he's been for them. What does Donovan Mitchell's life in Cleveland look like 2 years from now, especially with Evan Mobley getting a $50 million a year extension that's going to take over at that time?
I'm not saying
how happy is Luka with the Lakers and the LeBron situation? He's still settling in there.
I think he's all right, Lucas.
What happens with Trey in Atlanta? There's a lot.
There's a
lot of those guys.
That's not free agency.
Those guys, all of them in 2027. All of them are free agents in 2027.
They won't be because Luka's going to get his extension this summer, and that's going to bump it back. But Trey will be traded before. What's that?
All of them in 2027. All of them are free agents in 2027.
They won't be because Luka's going to get his extension this summer, and that's going to bump it back. But Trey will be traded before he gets to that point.
Luka can't get more money in an extension than he can get if he waits.
He can take the smaller extensions to then get the big 400 supermax after he gets 10 years in, which is probably what he's going to do. Did I cook? That's exactly what he did. 400 supermax after he gets 10 years in, which is probably what he's going to do.
Or he could wait and then sign for that short-term deal when he doesn't have a financial incentive to sign the extension because he's not on the team that drafted him.
The injury part of it, just to have that insurance.
If Luka tore his ACL, he would still get a supermax. Teams would line up to give it to him to wait out a year.
You don't think he's going to sign an extension with the Lakers this summer in August?
I don't know.
I think it's
think
naive to look at, oh, look who's going to be a free agent in 2027. Like, none of these guys are actually going to be free agents.
they won't
Those
all be.
guys.
They won't all be, but I think Adam, if you take that philosophy and you look backwards a few years, you're going, Kawhi Leonard's never going to actually be a free agent. LeBron James is never actually going to be a free agent. Kevin Durant's never going to actually be a free agent. All those
I'm
guys change
saying
teams. Jimmy Butler's never going to
that
actually be a
stuff
free
is
agent.
over, is what I'm saying. The
And
teams
I'm
get a
saying
whiff that you're
that
leaving, they're trading you. They're not
okay,
losing
but
you for nothing.
then either you get traded to the destination you want for pennies on the dollar, or you get traded somewhere that you don't want to be and you leave there, right? Like that's what happened with Kawhi 5 years ago or 7 years ago. Is the Spurs got a whiff that he was going to leave, so they traded him, and he went somewhere for a year and then walked in free agency. So what's to say? Maybe the Bucks get a great bid from Oklahoma City for Giannis. So Giannis goes to Oklahoma City and doesn't want to be in Oklahoma City, plays there for 1 year, and then comes out to make movies. I'm not saying that
I
it will
think these
happen.
are I just think it's so rare now. I don't know. So I don't show you this to just pat myself on the back too much or dunk on Lucas Hand. Don't call him Han. He's way smarter than me. But obviously, if I wanted to lie for the benefit of the show and be like, guys, the Clippers are going to have all this money to spend in 2027, and look who's going to be available, I could have done that. But instead, the entire time I said these guys aren't going to be available then, specifically SGA and Luka, and they won't be because they signed their extensions just like I said they were going to do. Now I'll tell you who's a guy you could be on the lookout for, because Luka's not coming. Luka's a Laker. We got to accept it. It's happened. He's with them for at least the next 3 seasons. And again, even if things went miserably wrong and there's no indications of that because he just signed the extension today and seems to be pretty happy, they're not trading him to the Clippers. That's the last place they would trade him to. There is somebody else that I'm watching. And I brought this up on Rogan and Rodney as Kevin Figures and I filled in for them a couple of weeks ago on AM 570 LA Sports. There's somebody else who has been on my mind. A franchise I'm monitoring very closely. They just had turnover with a GM recently, with a new coach recently, and with ownership very recently. I've talked about Giannis. I've talked about Trae Young on here. I'm not talking about them with this guy. I know Giannis, and you can go back a couple shows ago. I already told you, I think there's a real good chance that by the end of this season, at worst, he's available. And all it's going to take is they start off the season on a losing streak, or they get to the midway point at the trade deadline, and they're hanging around the 8th spot in the East, or they get to next summer after losing in the first round, and I'm telling you, no matter what the Bucks say, somebody's going to make an offer. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at the Bucks. Their front office is going to go, we like this, but we got to check in with Giannis. Would he want to go there? Because we're not going to do him dirty. He's a legacy guy, brought them just their second championship, 50 years after the first. They're not going to just blindside him. And if Giannis says, yeah, I wouldn't mind going there, that's what it will take. Trae Young, the way they reloaded this summer, and he's up for an extension too, I could see him staying around in Atlanta. I like the way they've constructed this team. But we'll see. But he, to me, isn't in the top tier of guys. He's not a top 10 guy. He's not a top 5 guy. When I talk about guys that will not end up unrestricted free agents anymore, I'm talking about the elite of the elite, the SGAs, the Giannis's, the Jokic, the Lukas. There's somebody else in that conversation now. And he's even younger than Luka. And I am watching this very closely to see how it goes, as I had mentioned him again on Rogan and Rodney about 2 weeks ago. It was July 11th. I want you to listen to my logic here. See how this sits with you.
Looking ahead to free agents and possible guys, my point has been this. You can look ahead. I mean, 3 weeks ago, SGA was slated to be a free agent in 2027.
Yep.
Well, guess what? He got the extension.
Mm-hmm.
With this new CBA, less teams, I think, are going to be prone than ever to let the elite of the elite go and be unrestricted free agents. Those days of seeing a Kawhi being an unrestricted free agent, I think that is gone. They're too valuable to teams because of the new CBA. You can't lose them for nothing like Orlando did with Shaq back in the day. So I think there's less of a chance. You can plan all you want to for the future, but you're going to have some good fortune. Where I think most teams are looking at is who's
Listen to this. Listen to this part right here.
Orlando did with Shaq back in the day. So I think there's less of a chance. You can plan all you want to for the future, but you're going to have some good fortune. Where I think most teams are looking at is who's going to be the next disgruntled guy?
Mm-hmm.
Who could be the next Luka? Where there was obviously an issue with him and Dallas, and we didn't all know about it till it happened. But who could be the next guy like that? What if things don't go well for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Because they just put themselves in a place where they have a very high standard. They've been to the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years with a different core, but Anthony Edwards is the guy. What if they don't make it there this year?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a step back. At some point, Anthony Edwards grows frustrated, sees that they're not going over the second apron or they're not spending enough. Like, that's what teams, I think, are realistically looking at when it comes to getting those stars, and the Lakers are doing it too.
That's an interesting outlook, and I want to touch more on that when we get back.
I'll say it one more time.
But you're going to have some good fortune. Where I think most teams are looking at is who's going to be the next disgruntled guy?
Mm-hmm.
Who could be the next Luka? Where there was obviously an issue with him and Dallas, and we didn't all know about it till it happened. But who could be the next guy like that? What if things don't go well for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Because they just put themselves in a place where they have a very high standard. They've been to the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years with a different core, but Anthony Edwards is the guy. What if they don't make it there this year?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a step back. At some point, Anthony Edwards grows frustrated, sees that they're not going over the second apron or they're not spending enough. Like, that's what teams, I think, are realistically looking at when it comes to getting those stars. And the Lakers.
You may think it's crazy right now, considering how good Minnesota has been the last 2 years. They've had some good fortune, though, too, to get to the Western Conference Finals. And what that has done is it has established a very high standard for them. Anything less than a conference finals appearance is going to be looked at as a failure. And it might be at the point where if they don't get to the finals and break through the Western Conference Finals to get there, that could also be looked at as taking a step back. Anthony Edwards is 24 years of age. He is a top 10 player in the league. You can make the argument he's top 5. He is on the books for 4 more years with Minnesota. He already signed his rookie extension. He's an unrestricted free agent the summer of 2029. This is a situation I'm monitoring. They got new ownership. Yes, they brought back Naz Reid, but they lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Yes, they brought back Julius Randle. Remember, they already traded Karl Anthony Towns. If they get bounced in the first round or even the second round, it's going to look like they're regressing. And that's where you have to be opportunistic. And the Clippers are in a great spot because of cap flexibility and the way they've done things and how competitive they've been. While not having their picks, well, they're getting them back now. They already have 2 first-round picks that are tradable. They're not going to be able to get Ant, I think, likely waiting till the summer of 2029. Because as I've mentioned over and over again, I just don't think teams will let superstars like this get to unrestricted free agency. He'll already have signed an extension. Or they will have already traded him. you're going to have to trade for him, just like you're going to have to trade for Giannis. But the Clippers, very under the radar, are starting to get back and gain their assets again, their picks. I don't have any intel on this. It's just something I've been thinking about because I had already seen SGA lost cause. They're not getting him back. He signed the extension. I already assumed Luka was going to sign the extension. They're not getting him. He's not switching uniforms in the same city, unfortunately. So I started to think, who's next? I've already talked about Giannis. That's real. Jokic, yeah, but they did a great job loading up this offseason. He could be a free agent in a couple of years too, in 2027. Will he be on an extension before then? Most likely. This is the game you have to play. How do you get all your assets back or enough back to be able to trade for one of these guys? Because the chances of them being unrestricted free agents, very, very low. But there are going to be guys, and the Clippers are going to be big game hunting. Believe that. And they've proven it before. They're a destination franchise now. They can bring them in. Hell, Bradley Beal just chose them. Brooke Lopez chose them over the Lakers. Guys want to play here now. So if you want to dream, I'd start thinking about Ant. I'd start thinking about Giannis. Guys like that. Again, this isn't reporting. It's just my opinion. Just reading tea leaves here. I'm Adam Osland. You've been listening to another episode of Clippers Talk.